Right, welcome to this unboxing of the new Apple AirPort Extreme. This is the new wireless router from Apple, released this week. Date reference is it's the 15th of June 2013. This unit was bought this morning from the Stormfront store in Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk for £169.99. What we're going to do first is we're going to unbox the unit, show you what's in the package, and then later on we're going to replace our Bt HomeHub3 on Infinity. We're going to replace that with this unit and talk about the settings, so that if you're thinking you're doing the same thing, which to be honest, if you're getting the same kind of results on your HomeHub3 that we're getting, you're probably going to do, then hopefully this will be of some use to you. Couldn't be much easier, although perhaps it could be a little bit quicker due to the vacuum created by the box. I can't help but somehow think that Apple maybe designed that to happen like that. So lovely packaging, absolutely nothing left in there apart from the kind of cardboard tube. And in the box is a standard, well, I say standard, it's a 2-plug, obviously double insulated cable for the power supply. Power supply is actually built into the unit, so there's no separate power brick, which is nice, and it's white right the way throughout, so very nice packaging. And you know, what we've got the AirPort Extreme setup guide. Then we've got exactly the same, it seems to me, guide in French, German and Italian. Then there are some 1-year limited warranty and some legal documents for the I think for the radiation produced by the unit. So I'm going to pop all of them back in the box because I don't need them for the time being. The unit itself, now not content with just putting this gorgeous device just in the box, they've actually I don't know if you can see that very clearly, perhaps if my cameraman can zoom in a little bit on that, it's actually wrapped. Yeah, so you can see the ports, but it's actually got wrapping all the way around the AirPort unit. So you know, to protect it in transit, couldn't ask very firmly on the unit, and there we go. So that's the unit unwrapped. Not sure how on earth I would keep that if I was going to reset it, because that's very sticky, so I'm just going to put that to one side for now and I'll take through the unit. So on the top, Apple logo, it's actually flush with the surface, very simple Apple logo in black out of white. On the front, absolutely nothing apart from a tiny status indicator light right down the bottom there. Obviously not doing anything at the moment. Sides, completely blank. On the back, we've got the 2-pin connector for the power supply unit. That's where the lead will obviously plug into. Then we have the WAN socket, the wide area network socket. Now it's worth saying at this point that you will need some form of wide area network system to plug this into. Obviously we've got a separate WAN router that came with our Bt Infinity, so as you'll see later, that's simply going to plug into there. We've then got a USB socket for external drive, be it a flash drive or an external hard drive. Worth noting, only USB 2.0, not USB 3.0. And then above that we have 1, 2, 3 Ethernet ports. All 3 are gigabit Ethernet, so theoretically up to 1 gigabyte a second transfer rate. We also have a small reset button there. It is really small. You wouldn't be able to press that with your finger. You need something, maybe a paper clip or a pen top. Again, we have a bit of protection there, so I'm just going to peel that one off. And on the bottom of the unit, we've got a slightly raised circular base, again with a flush black Apple logo in place. And around the edge, I don't know if you can see that there, around the edge we have some holes. Presumably behind this panel there is a fan, and this is the exhaust for the heat generated by the internals of the unit. So very nice design. So actually when it sits on the side, wherever you're going to put it, sits on a shelf, you've actually got a little bit of clearance down the bottom, maybe 2-3 millimeters of clearance all the way around to allow for airflow all around the unit. Overall, it's magnificent. I mean, it just looks wonderful. I think Apple have milled this to perfection, and it's going to look very nice indeed in the house. Okay, so if you have got to this stage, then there's just a couple more steps that you need to do before you configure the router. The first is this needs to be plugged into, this is from the back of the, in my case, OpenReach Infinity box, which you don't remove from the circuit, you keep it. I'll show you that in a second. And this needs to get plugged into the WAN port, wide area network port, just there. Now, it's important that you connect all of your leads before you add the power. So on the first time you set up the router, you need to set it up using a hardwired Ethernet connection between, in my case, MacBook Pro and the router itself. So second lead is going to go into the first gigabit Ethernet port, and then the other end of this lead is going to go into my MacBook Pro. Once everything is then connected the way you want, you can then plug in the power. It doesn't really matter if your MacBook is on before you plug in the power or after, but I tend to find it's better to plug in the power last. So do all of your networking first and then plug the power in at the end. There's no on-off switch apart from any that might be in the wall plug, so literally plugging this in will start the router up, and it will immediately go through its setup cycle, and the front LED will start flashing. This is the airport utility, which can be found in applications, utilities, airport utility on your MacBook, running on OS X Mountain Lion. It's a pretty simple utility, and at the moment it's showing us our Airport Extreme router and our connection to the internet. So the first time you use this utility, you won't have the right settings. This will be amber and this will be amber, indicating there's a problem. Obviously I've already set it up, so I'm just going to show you how to do the same thing. If you're on Bt Infinity, how to move your settings over to the Airport Extreme. If you click on it, you're given some basic information about its current settings. These will mostly be blank the first time you do this. We've also got wireless clients that are connected to the router at the moment. If I click Edit, I'm going to get a dialog box up that really is where you need to put your settings for Bt Infinity. The first tab, it's the base station name and the password for accessing it. You can set this up the first time you run this utility. I recommend you do. It means that nobody else can change your settings, that they're protected behind this password. It's a good idea. The next tab is the internet, and these are the settings you're going to need if you're migrating from Bt Infinity. Connect using PPPoE, that's the setting you want. The account name Bt HomeHub at btbroadband.com. The password is just a space. That's the one character you can see there. Don't need to worry about service name. These will be blank initially, but they will populate once you've connected, so you'll be able to see what your addresses are. And that pretty much is it. All you need in those dialog boxes for Bt Infinity to work. A couple of other things worth noting: if we go into Internet Options, Always On should be selected for this connection. IP6v6 local link only, link local only, that's the default. Leave it as it is. Next tab is wireless. So you want to create a wireless network, otherwise there's a lot of point that will be the network name that you'll see from your Wi-Fi devices, so from your MacBook or your iPad or Windows machine, whatever you're connecting with. Wireless security, that's quite sufficient for home use, and then your password and verified. Wireless options just contains some information for the country you're in. This is an interesting point though. I discovered that the router can broadcast on two different frequencies: 2.4 gigahertz channel, which has a longer reach but is slower, 5 gigahertz channel, which has a shorter reach but is faster. I left the 2.4 on automatic, which works fine, but the 5 gigahertz I had to select. I had to change it from automatic, I wasn't getting anything, to 48 in my case, which seems to work well. Now, the reason for this, I think, is that there are restrictions placed on the 5 gigahertz band in the UK. So only certain channels will work. So if you leave it automatic, I wasn't getting anything at all on the 5 gigahertz range on my MacBook. So changing it to 48, I get it. So I've left it on 48. I've set it to 48. You may want to do the same if you want the advantages of both bandwidths. It switches automatically between them. My MacBook chooses the best band depending upon the distance from the router, but I did have to set that to 48, so you may have to, your mileage may vary, but you may have to do the same. Network is the next tab. Nothing to set really in there. Network options. I selected the range 192.168 purely because all of my NAS drives, etc., are set up on that local network address translation map. So originally, I think when it first came, it was set to 10.0, but that's no good to me. So I set it to 192.168, and then from number 2 all the way up to 253, and I enabled my default host, which just helps with my network drives, to this address here, 254, one more than the maximum range that can be automatically allocated. Hopefully that makes sense. If you don't have a complicated setup with NAS drives, etc., you could probably leave this exactly as it was from the factory. And disks doesn't apply because I don't have anything USB connected. And that's it. Once you, I selected cancel there, you would click OK. Once you've done that, after a few seconds, hopefully the light here will go green and the light on the front of the Airport Extreme will also go green, and a few seconds after that the internet light will go green. And that's it. Anecdotally, I have noticed that the range of this particular Airport Extreme, oddly enough, isn't as good at the moment as BT Infinity, which is kind of a bit strange. I would have expected it to be far superior, but at the back of the garden the signal seems to fall off quite dramatically. So I'm going to do a little bit more testing. I'm going to try some different channels. The one advantage that the Infinity router had over the Airport Extreme is it had automatic channel switching. If it found that one of the channels was particularly noisy, it would automatically switch to a different one. I don't think the Airport does that, and that could be part of my problem. So I'm going to try a few different settings, and I will post an update once I've got some useful information. That's it. I hope it helps, and good luck.